Welcome back to the program. While politics and skullduggery are frequent bedfellows in most countries, it's hard to believe the extent of the intrigue and corruption in the Malaysian government. The greatest scandal surrounds the murder of a beautiful young woman who was having an affair with a high-ranking apparatchik. Only she wasn't just killed, she was blown to pieces with explosives by 2 government bodyguards. One of them fled to Australia, where he's now held in immigration detention and is keeping a dirty secret which could implicate the highest office holders in Malaysia. And that's why its former Prime Minister, Mahathir Mohamad, himself an outspoken and controversial figure, has now come out of retirement to have his say. In Malaysia's capital, Kuala Lumpur, a young woman is kidnapped, driven to remote jungle, where she is executed, her body destroyed. One of her killers is former Malaysian government bodyguard Sirul-Altantuya-Najib. He fled to Australia and is now behind bars here in Sydney's Villawood Detention Centre. Sirul holds a dirty secret which could bring down the Malaysian government. There are shocking claims of high-level corruption.
If Australia can do something, I think it would be helpful, especially with regard to asylum for this man. He's frightened of coming back here.
Tonight, in an extraordinary appeal, the former Malaysian Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, calls on Australia to give this killer asylum.
Yang telah mengambil kesempatan untuk.
So you would like to see Australia offer this man protection so that he can speak the truth about what he knows?
If he thinks he is safe in Australia, I think he would be able to say who instructed him.
This is the jungle setting where 10 years ago, in the dead of night, 2 Malaysian government agents brutally murdered a young woman. Her name was Altantuya-Najib. And as if shooting her dead wasn't enough, they then strapped her body with plastic explosives and blew it to pieces. Her body parts were found strewn in these trees. It's a bloody trail of corruption that leads all the way to the very highest office in this land, the Malaysian Prime Minister. Altantuya-Najib was a young mother and translator who'd had an affair with a very senior Malaysian government official, Razak Baginda.
I have been interviewed, I have given...
Baginda was an advisor and close friend of Najib Razak, then the Defence Minister, now Malaysia's Prime Minister. The pair are accused of receiving massive bribes from a French defence company to win a huge submarine contract with Malaysia. It's claimed Altantuya was in on the bribes and that the night she was murdered, she'd been hounding her ex-lover for money. Cynthia, this sounds like a Hollywood movie.
It is. It has all the elements. It has corruption, it has sex, it has money, it has murder, it has everything.
It's like House of Cards, Malaysia.
Yes.
Corrupt politicians, beautiful women murdered, blown up, bad guys
With
killing
C4
people.
explosives. And I must say C4 explosives are explosive meant to bring down buildings, not to kill people.
Cynthia Gabriel leads a Malaysian anti-corruption organisation appropriately named C4. She's been investigating the alleged high-level corruption behind Altantuya's murder.
It seems like very much that she had a lot of information with her and she was threatening to to tell all if she didn't get her portion of the money.
So she threatened to blow the whistle.
Yes.
Is that why she was murdered?
That is something that we think is very, very highly believable.
There shall be no retreat, no surrender, no retreat, no surrender.
Malaysia has been ruled by the same party for almost 60 years. Outwardly a successful economy, Malaysia's reputation is increasingly blighted by allegations of corruption.
We are dealing with corruption at the highest level.
So in this country, people who try to blow the whistle on corruption
Get attacked.
They
get
end up
harassed.
dead.
Yes.
Malaysia's Prime Minister, Najib Razak, has always denied knowing the murdered woman, Altantuya.
Because I never met her at all.
Her ex-lover, Baginda, denies that either he or the Prime Minister were inappropriately involved with her.
And what I have said today to all of you is what I told the police. That Datuk Najib had never met the deceased.
Behind the barbed wire here at the Villawood Detention Centre in Sydney is the man who could answer that key question. Who ordered the murder of Altantuya? When he was convicted for the killing in Malaysia, Sirul testified that he was a scapegoat for those more powerful, implying very strongly that he was acting under instructions from people higher up. Now it appears that someone representing the Malaysian government is trying to keep him quiet. And it appears to suggest the police... These SMSs show that while he was on the run in Australia, Sirul sent a desperate message demanding a total of $17 million to not bring down the Malaysian Prime Minister. The Malaysian government contact responds, they will discuss. While in Villawood, Sirul has been visited by an intermediary for the Malaysian Special Branch Police. And there's another SMS suggesting a deal was being brokered, that a house was to be bought for Sirul in Sydney.
Yeah.
In Australia.
So it says here, the police, promised to buy him a house in Sydney this time.
Is it your fear that a deal has been done?
It looks like a deal, because the only thing that the government should be doing in this case is to ask for extradition of Sirul, to bring him back here and hang him.
Sirul travelled Australia for months as a tourist before he was arrested and thrown into Villawood. While in detention, he was somehow able to publish a series of videos in which, out of the blue, he changed his story. He began pleading the Prime Minister's innocence.
I would like to report here Najib Razak is not involved and has no relevance to the case.
He now claims that dark forces are trying to implicate Prime Minister Najib Razak in the murder. And press reports in Malaysia are suggesting Dr. Mahathir is one of those trying to undermine the government. Did you offer Mr. Sirul any inducements to tell the truth?
No, no inducement. I did speak to him over the phone. I did tell him that if I can help him get asylum in Australia because of his fear of something happening to him if he comes back, I would try.
During his reign as Malaysia's Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir was himself dubbed a dictator. Yet that hasn't deterred him from speaking out against his successor, Prime Minister Najib Razak.
Well, if you have a dictator who's dedicated to serving the people, I think it's not a bad thing to have power. But you have a man who is not a dictator, but who abuses everything, undermines all the authorities of government.
And let's be clear, you're talking there about Mr. Najib.
Yeah, I am.
You're taking a big risk doing this, aren't you?
No risk, no gain.
Dr Mahathir's turnaround is extraordinary for a politician who bitterly resented Australia telling Malaysia what to do when he was Prime Minister. Australians know you as an autocrat, as a man who took on Paul Keating. I think Mr Keating described you as...
Recalcitrant. Very recalcitrant. I stand by my principles.
Remarkably, Altantuya's murder isn't the only scandal tainting the Malaysian government. The Prime Minister also stands accused of 4 years ago receiving almost $1 billion from the country's sovereign wealth fund into his personal bank account. It has sparked investigations in Malaysia, Switzerland and the US. Najib claims it was a gift from the Saudi royal family.
Nobody gives that amount of money to anybody, not even Bill Gates.
You believe that the Prime Minister of Malaysia is sanctioning bribery?
When he says that cash is king, that means that you can use cash for whatever. That is wrong.
Dr Mahathir has taken an unprecedented step and is now suing Prime Minister Najib Razak for corruption and abuse of power. But the Prime Minister may have the last word. Under a new law, he has the power to detain anyone he wants without any need for explanation. You're causing trouble, aren't you, for Mr Najib?
Well, every Prime Minister must expect some trouble. During my time, I had lots of trouble.
Are you prepared to go to jail?
Well, I don't like to go to jail. It must be very uncomfortable, but I run that kind of risk.
You are prepared to do that?
Well, if I have to, I have to.
Coming up,